Hello dear students, welcome to the platform of Teacher Educator. Today, let me explain to you about a practical activity to be conducted in your hardcore course 7, that is learning and teaching. You know that this paper stands for 100 marks where 70 for external examination and 30 for internal assessment. Internal assessment of 30 marks generally includes internal test of 20 marks and a practical activity of 10 marks. Again, this distribution may vary as per the criteria of internal assessment in each teacher education institution. There are total 10 practical activities in your syllabus, out of which you are expected to conduct at least one activity. As these practical activities are narrowly defined, there can be different versions and ways of conducting experiments within the allotted topics. This video presents a brief idea about Activity 7, that is learning of meaning and nonsense syllables. So, to start with, first, this is the cover page of the activity with all the basic information like name and logo of the college, course, academic year, paper, title of the activity, submitted to and submitted by. Further, you have the index of the entire report. Now, let's move towards the writing of the report of the same. So, first is the introduction where you can mention about the general information related to the topic. Here, specifically, I have related learning with memorization. Under introduction, you can write about learning and its connection with memorization. Then, further I have introduced the psychologist Ebbinghaus, who had first introduced nonsense syllables as learning material. Later, you can introduce meaning of learning, some definitions. Then, I have written some points about short-term and long-term learning and some factors, majorly the process of learning like input, process and reflections on what has been learnt. Further, you can present factors affecting learning under different categories. Then, the meaning of retention in learning. Moving ahead, you have meaning of nonsense syllables. So, any three-letter word or non-word used in learning and memory research to study learning of items that do not already have meaning or association with other information in memory. Those are the nonsense syllables. Towards the left, you can see the list A of such kind of nonsense syllables or non-words. Then, here are meaningful connected words, where connection is based on their class with which they belong to. These words have meaning in the dictionary. Further, meaningful words, those words which have meaning and they are also present in English dictionary. Meaningful is something that has a purpose, that is important or that has some value. Towards the left, I have presented the list of both three types of these words under the list B and list C respectively. Then, experiment on nonsense syllables. Here, first you can present the introduction where the major information is written about that what was the test, and first it was introduced by Ebbinghaus and some basic information about the nonsense syllables which I have presented. You can note down the same information from here. Then materials required. So list of nonsense syllables A, list of meaningful words B, list of meaningful associated word list C. You require a pen, stopwatch, timer, right? And other than that, some extra paper also might be required. Then later you are writing the procedure of the same. Under the procedure, you can mention observer establishes rapport with respondents through informal communication. Then he presents list A consisting of nonsense syllables and asks the respondents to read all the words at his or her own pace within 1 or 1.5 minutes. Now, observer gives a break of a minute and informally communicates during the given break. So, list A is presented followed by some kind of informal communication. Then, the observer ask the respondent to write down or tell the words without seeing the list. Observer will record the time and the number of told words. Once again, he gives a gap of 1 minute and presents a list B consisting of meaningful words and asks the respondent to read all the words at his or her own pace within 1 or 1.5 minutes. Again, observer gives a break of a minute and communicates informally during the given break. Now, the respondent is asked to write down or tell those words without seeing the list. Once again, observer will record the time and the number of the told words. Then, again he gives a gap of 1 minute. Now, finally, he presents a list C consisting of meaningful associated words and asks the respondent to read all the words at his or her own pace within 1 or 1.5 minutes. Observer gives a break of a minute and informally further communicates during the given break. Respondent is asked to write down or tell those words without seeing the list. Observer will also record the time and the number of the told words. Now, observer closes the session with the informal communication and the entire collected data is recorded. Now, all the collected responses of list A, list B and list C are to be tabulated, that is to be separately, followed by calculating simple mean of the responses of each list. As you can see here in the list A, first the serial number, then the respondent's name, standard of the respondent. Here I have presented the data from the students of different classes. You can limit only to one standard, either 8th or 9th. Sometimes, due to pandemic social distancing issues, if the students are not available, you can also conduct this experiment on your batchmates. Then, in the table itself, correct responses told by the respondent, followed by the time taken by each candidate. Now, you need to calculate the mean of the responses of each list. So here, the mean can be calculated by the sum of number of correct words of all students of list A divided by total number of the words of list A. As you can see here, from the list, these are the numbers. Sum of these numbers is 40 and it can be divided by the total number of the words, that is 20. So, the mean of the list A is 2. Therefore, similarly, you need to calculate the mean of the responses presented in the list B and the list C respectively. These are the response sheet. This is list A, list B, list C, which I had shown it to you. All the lists are present in one sheet only. This either you can present the same copy or you can type also. Then further, these are the response sheets. You can also present these sheets through the graphical representation as I have presented in the further table, right, based on the conclusion. So you can see here, mean of list A is 2, that is nonsense syllables. Mean of list B, that is 3.8, and those words are meaningful words. Mean of list C, that is meaningful connected words, the mean is 4.7. So the list which has got high mean, i.e. list C, it means the list C indicates that words which are meaningful and connected words can be remembered well. As I have told you, similar lines, on the similar lines I have presented the graphical representation of the same also. Then finally, after writing your complete this conclusion, you can write the reflection. In the reflection, you can write about the entire process, your emotions, your learning experiences, your strengths, your areas of improvement, and your experiences with the subjects. Right? So there are many things which you can write, and for way forward, what is that which you need to improve upon related to this activity. Right? After the reflection, you can also present the references and some of the images taken during the time of the experiment. So dear students, this was all about the practical activity 7 to be conducted under your learning and teaching paper. So thank you so much. Happy learning.